The sky above Crydon 4 fractured moon boiled with black storm clouds, torn open by jagged streaks of blue-white lightning. Every thunderclap echoed through the canyon like artillery. Obsidian ridges jutted upward like broken teeth, slick with rain, their edges glowing faintly from repeated plasma impacts. Pinned against a crumbling embankment, a mixed platoon of conquered troops fired in short, disciplined bursts, avian sharpshooters clicking targeting visors into place, amphibian engineers cycling energy shields in perfect formation. Their withdrawal was orderly, predictable, all except for the human. Captain Rook moved the opposite direction, forward, hunched low, boots sliding in black mud as plasma bolts hissed past. Cradled under one arm, an improvised satchel charge cobbled together from mining capacitors and a broken shield generator. In his other hand, a storm anchor, a spike designed to channel lightning into grounded grids. He intended to use it very differently. From the canyon mouth, the Vexillith surged. Towering insectoid warriors with glistening chitin, their forearms clutched bioplasma rifles that burned ozone with every discharge. They roared as one, the swarm's hive link feeding them perfect firing angles. Rook didn't bother returning fire. He jammed the storm anchor deep into the shale, wired the satchel in seconds, and slammed his palm onto the detonator. A blinding flash tore across the canyon. The conductor caught a lightning bolt mid-strike, channeling raw energy into the wet ground. Blue fire danced along the Vexillith's armor, cooking them from the inside. The survivors fell back, screeching in disarray. Static hissed in Rook's comm. A deep, alien voice growled, "This is why Deathworlders are dangerous." By the time the lightning stopped dancing across the canyon floor, Rook's visor readouts were a haze of static. He keyed the squad channel. "Platoon, regroup on me. That's our breach." No one argued, though the avian sharpshooter T-car muttered something in his native tongue that roughly translated to reckless Deathworlder. They made it back to forward post Theta under cover of the storm. The outpost clung to a cliffside above Crydon 4 equatorial mining belt, its alloy walls streaked with rust from the ever-present rain. Below, the sprawling refineries churned out quantum fuel cells, each worth a small fortune on the galactic market, and vital for the Conquered's warships. The war here had been locked in a grim stalemate for months. The Vexillith swarm could not take the mines without crippling losses. The Conquered could not push them back without exposing other sectors. It was a slow bleed, the kind Rook hated. Inside the command dome, he stripped off his rain-slick combat gear. His squad filtered in 3 human marines, 2 avian sharpshooters, and a pair of amphibian engineers whose glossy skin gleamed under the lights. They were a strange mix, bound together by necessity more than trust. Rook had earned his captain's bars the hard way. Surviving hellholes most Conquered tacticians considered suicide missions. To alien high command, he was effective but dangerously unpredictable. To his own kind, he was exactly the sort of bastard you wanted when the odds looked impossible. The briefing holo flickered to life, projecting the serene, four-eyed face of Admiral K. Sear, a Zelari officer who had never set foot on a Deathworld. "Captain Rook, your squad is reassigned to convoy escort duty. Maintain perimeter security. No deviations from route." Bureaucratic busywork, he bit back his frustration. Understood. The escort was halfway to Refinery Sector 8 when his datapad pinged with a secure, encrypted burst. It bypassed standard Conquered channels of human intel. The message was short, ugly, and to the point. Vexillith constructing siege engine inside Storm Belt Delta. Designation, planetary eradication. Operational window, 48 hours. Penetration probability with current Conquered tactics, 0%. Rook stared at the storm zone plotted on his visor. Belt Delta was a hellscape of electrical cyclones and magnetic shears, the kind of place no sane fleet went near. Alien doctrine labeled it impenetrable, and that was the end of the discussion. He switched back to the main channel. "Admiral, I'm reading a high-priority human intelligence alert. the swarms building a planet killer in Belt Delta. Casier's reply was instant and clipped. Perimeter orders remain unchanged. Reinforcements will arrive in 6 days. Rourke did the math. 6 days was 4 days too late. By then, Crydon 4 would be nothing but molten rock, and the swarm would roll over the sector. "Sir, with respect." "Captain, that's an order." "The channel cut." Around him, the squad exchanged uneasy glances. They all knew the stakes. Waiting meant losing everything they'd fought to hold. Rourke's jaw tightened. He'd been raised on a world where storms could kill you in minutes and predators hunted you in your own cities. You didn't survive that by waiting for permission. He looked out at the lightning-churned horizon. "Prep for recon," he said. "We're going in." The edge of Storm Belt Delta was a wall of shifting light, arcs of blue-white electricity spiderwebbing across churning black clouds. The air ionized with every strike, prickling across Rourke's skin even through the suit. "This is a bad idea," muttered Tikar, the avian sharpshooter, wings twitching under his rain cloak. "Not bad," Rourke said, checking the manual compass strapped to his wrist. "Just not approved." Sensors were useless here. Magnetic surges fried navsats in minutes. The amphibian engineers swore they could hear the static singing through their gill ports. Rourke navigated the way mountaineers once had on Earth, triangulating landmarks between lightning flashes, judging distances by the way thunder rolled through the jagged terrain. For hours, they crept along fractured ridges, boots magnetized to keep from being blown into the abyss by storm gusts. The rain came sideways, metallic and cold. They found the nest at dusk, a cluster of obsidian spires honeycombed with glowing egg pods and covered in chitin scaffolding. Vexillith warriors clung to the structures like armored gargoyles, their weapons pulsing in the gloom. Tikar hissed through the calm. "We report this and wait for air support." "Air support won't make it through this storm before those eggs hatch," Rourke replied. "We do this now." He pulled a bundle of thermite charges from his pack and nodded to the amphibians. "Those geothermal vents we passed, they're under this ridge. We light them up, we bury the nest." While the aliens muttered in disbelief, Rourke and 2 Marines rappelled down slick basalt walls, planting the charges by hand. Lightning lit the ridge like day as he slammed the last detonator home. "Fire in the hole!" The ground bucked. A blast of superheated steam roared upward, carrying molten rock that sheared through the nest's spires. Vexillith screeched as the scaffolding collapsed, egg pods boiling in their own nutrient fluid. As the survivors scrambled, Rourke keyed his helmet's comm jammer, bouncing false squad chatter across the spectrum. Multiple human units inbound, heavy armor, sweep and clear. The swarm hesitated, hive link disrupted by the fake chatter. That moment was all the squad needed to retreat into the storm-racked pass. Minutes later, the conquered command channel crackled. Admiral Casier's voice was razor-thin. "Captain Rourke, you have destroyed significant geological infrastructure and expended restricted munitions without authorization." Rourke kept his voice level. "The nest is gone. Path to the siege engine is open." "That path was not yours to take," Casier snapped. "Expect review upon return." The channel cut. By nightfall, they'd set up camp under a portable heat dome, its red glow barely cutting the darkness. Steam rose from drying gear while the storm howled beyond the shield. Tikar polished his rifle in silence, finally glancing at Rourke. "You humans see war like a hunt, not a chessboard." Rourke smirked over a steaming ration pack. "On a Deathworld, prey that waits for permission doesn't live long enough to become the predator." Even the amphibians chuckled at that, their translucent eyelids blinking slow approval. Outside, lightning stitched the horizon, and somewhere beyond it, the siege engine waited. The storm broke just enough for long-range optics to pierce the haze. Through the shimmer of ionized rain, the silhouette of the siege engine loomed, a black monolith bristling with weapon pylons, half shrouded in scaffolding. The amphibian engineer Vesh adjusted the scope, his voice low. Energy source detected, not mechanical, organic. Data streamed to Rook's visor, lines of analysis confirming what the readings implied. The core of the siege engine was no reactor, it was a living stellar larva. Barely the size of a human, its body glowed with the light of a captured sun, thrashing weakly inside a containment field. T-Car's feathers rippled uneasily. Those creatures are rarer than planetary births. Conquered law forbids. Rook cut him off. The swarm doesn't give a damn about conquered law. That thing powers their weapon and dies doing it. Before he could say more, movement flickered at the ridge. 2 Vexillith patrols were advancing, their formation uncanny. They took cover in unpredictable patterns, used bait shooters to draw fire, tactics ripped straight from the human playbook. Rook's stomach sank. The swarm had learned. A skirmish erupted. The enemy fell back, but not before leaving a lattice of chitin tripwires across the pass. Crude yet effective mines disguised in the same places Rook himself would have set ambushes. The swarm wasn't just adapting, they were thinking like him now. When the last shot faded, Admiral Casier's voice cracked through the calm. Captain Rook, all forward units are to withdraw immediately. Heavy fleet elements will neutralize the siege engine in 6 days. Rook ran the numbers. 6 days meant the Vexillith would have their weapon online in 2. By then, Crydon 4 mines, cities, and every living thing on the surface would be cinders. "Understood," he said flatly, but muted his channel before the last word was out. He looked around the squad, rain hissing off their armor. They were exhausted, battered down to half their munitions. And still, every pair of eyes was on him, waiting. "You all heard the order," he said. "You also know it's suicide to wait. That thing goes live, the whole sector's gone. The larva dies either way, only difference is whether it takes millions with it." Silence, then Vesh closed his toolkit with a click. "I can rig an overload in the containment field." T-Car gave a sharp, avian nod. "If we're hunting, let's hunt." Rook keyed a local channel. "All right, we go in under the storm. Fast, quiet, final." He knew the court-martial would be waiting if they lived. But he also knew something the Conquered didn't. Deathworlders didn't sit still and hope for rescue. They acted. And tomorrow, they'd tear the heart out of the siege engine. The siege engine's frame loomed like a continent of black steel in the storm's heart. Lightning spidered across its half-finished hull, each strike shaking the skeletal trusses. The squad approached along a maintenance gantry, their magnetic boots thudding dully against alien alloy. Beyond them, the storm churned endlessly, a roiling vortex of rain and light. Inside the gantry's skeletal cage, there was no up or down, only void above, abyss below. Rook's comm clicked twice, the signal to go silent. Ahead, a swarm of Vexillith drones clung to the outer plating, cutting into armor with saw limbs that screamed through the metal. Sparks floated away in zero-G arcs. The first drone spotted them. It spun, spitting a bolt of molten plasma. Rook shoved Vesh aside, magnetic boots holding him against the truss as the shot hissed past. "Vesh! Coolant flood!" The amphibian engineer scrambled to a side panel, webbed hands tearing out conduits. A torrent of supercooled gas blasted through the maintenance channels, turning the plasma cannons above into frozen statues mid-charge. Lightning reflected in the sudden frost like fractured glass. The squad surged forward. T-Car's rifle cracked, sending steel-jacketed rounds through drone skulls. Rook slammed into one of the larger cutters, yanking free its plasma blade, an alien tool as tall as he was. He thumbed the ignition, the edge flaring white-hot. "Let's see how you like Deathworld steelwork," he muttered. In the confined trusses, the cutter was a brutal, screaming weapon. Each swing sheared through chitin and alloy alike, molten spray freezing in the cold vacuum between strikes. The air stank of scorched resin and lightning ozone. They breached the core chamber, a vast hollow wrapped in scaffolding. In its center floated the stellar larva, dim now, its glow pulsing weakly. Around it stood the Vexilith commander, 8 limbs braced wide, armor blackened and scarred, eyes glittering with insect precision. The commander spoke through a translator band, its voice oily with confidence. "Deathwelder, you are predictable now." Rook's gaze flicked to the storm conductors lining the chamber walls, long, segmented rods channeling lightning into the weapon's capacitors. His HUD mapped their arcs in seconds. "Then you know what's coming," Rook said. He charged, cutter roaring. The commander met him in a flurry of limbs, blows hammering against his armor, each one sending shockwaves through the trusses. Tikar and the others poured fire into the swarm troops flooding the chamber's edges. "Get those conductors hot," Rook barked. Vesh jammed his toolkit into the nearest panel, bypassing the safeties. Energy readings spiked. The storm outside seemed to pause a breath before the strike. The commander lunged for the engineer. Rook intercepted, locking limbs with the alien, driving the plasma cutter into its thorax. The creature shrieked, but still fought, even as molten metal poured between them. Then the conductors overloaded. A bolt of lightning the width of a dropship tore through the chamber, arcing from rod to rod, vaporizing scaffolding and boiling the larva's containment field in an instant. The stellar creature vanished in a burst of white light, its final cry echoing through every comm. The commander's body convulsed, silhouette burned into Rook's visor before it disintegrated. The blast hurled them all outward. Rook's tether caught on a broken beam. 2 squad members didn't have that luck, their suits vanishing into the storm below. When it was over, the siege engine was nothing but a smoking skeleton. Rook's armor was scorched, his arm half numb from the fight, but he was still breathing. "Engine down," he rasped into the comm. "Mission complete." Rook woke to the steady hum of the conquered flagship's medical bay. The sterile white walls and filtered air felt almost alien after days breathing storm-racked ozone. Across the ward, Vesh's leg was encased in a regeneration sheath, and Tikar sat motionless, eyes closed, feathers still damp from the decontamination cycle. 2 bunks lay empty. The mission report was already circulating. The official line credited the siege engine's destruction to joint tactical action by multi-species forces. No mention of the lightning overload, the stellar larva, or the human who had ordered the unauthorized strike, but soldiers talked. On private channels, the story was already mutating into legend, the Deathwelder who walked into the storm and came back with the swarm's teeth in his hand. The medbay doors hissed open. General Rassick, a towering reptilian officer whose granite demeanor had never softened in Rook's presence, entered without a word. He studied Rook for a long moment, then raised one scaled arm in a crisp salute. It was a gesture reserved for equals, and one almost never given to humans. Rook returned it, no words exchanged. None were needed. Later, in his assigned quarters, the silence was broken by a sharp ping from his datapad. The message had no origin trace, no encryption signature he recognized. Just a set of coordinates in a dead sector and a single line of text. "Deathwelders wanted." Rook stared at the screen, jaw tightening. That sector was marked on every map as a disputed war zone, a place where treaties went to die and fleets vanished without trace. He keyed the pad off and leaned back in his chair, the hum of the ship's engines steady beneath him. Whatever waited out there, it wasn't going to play by conquered rules. And that suited him just fine.